Hey, everybody. We are live at the Paste Studio in New York right now with Matt and Kim. Matt, wonderful to see you.
Let's go up
Kim,
top. Let's go. Yeah.
To see you as well.
Good to
Twice
see you.
in 2 weeks. It's great to have you guys here all the time. And you have brought with you today the 61, this wonderful piece of wood and metal and heartily constructed instrument that we're going to talk. You're going to find out a lot more about it today.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I love how soothing your voice is. Like, it's been like we've been getting everything together, and then we come in and it's nice and calm. But
Yeah.
I come in more with a hell yeah vibe. Kim comes in with more of a fuck yeah vibe, right?
And I just had a Red Bull just before this
Really?
thing started. So normally it's even more soothing than that. But now it's like halfway between hell yeah and fuck yeah.
Oh, we'll get you there.
All
It's
right.
going to be at the top when we leave.
To hell fucking yeah? Okay, we're starting this right.
So I know a bit about this guy because we talked about it last week, and it's wonderful that it exists, and it's a hardy piece of an equipment that you'd want to own and touch.
Yes,
I
yes.
get to touch it. Internet, sorry, you guys don't get. So you can if you purchase
No,
it,
you
you may
can't
touch it.
Get no. You didn't
Can
sign
you
a release.
Tell
No,
us more about why it is like this and the inspiration behind building something that's not plasticky and has something to it, has some substance to it.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, being a band who, okay, we'll go way back to just, so we're a band who's never made anything other than music before, really, right?
Yeah.
The main
I mean-
traditional band export,
Yeah.
being music.
But there really was a time where you finish like an album and this will date us because I'll talk about CDs and be like, you made something. It was really awesome to like feel like you were holding and you made something.
Or to give people and like
yeah,
that
and now it
exchange.
just goes up into a cloud, and we're like, we all get to enjoy it.
That and our nudes just up there in the cloud.
Did you say our news or our nudes?
Nudes.
Okay, cool. But so, it's been fun, like making something again. Making something you can touch, making something you hold. But essentially, it came out of on stage, right? We used to use like these analog synthesizers, right? And we ran into problems with a consistency about synthesizers that were like 40 years old. I remember once we were playing, Ultrafest.
Yes.
And we had one of my keyboards was sitting in front of me. I usually play two on stage. For those who don't know, we are a band called Matt and Kim, and I play keyboards on stage. And the sun started on one side of the stage, and as we were playing, it came over the top. It sounds like we were playing like a 12-hour set here. Maybe it started just slightly behind the stage, and then it came over and it started hitting the keyboard. And like temperature changes and stuff like that are like completely throw them out of whack. And so I remember just trying to keep it in tune. And we'd always have these problems where we'd encourage people to do things like pour beers in our mouths while we were trying to play on stage. It would pour all into the keyboards. That would kill them. And eventually we decided, you know what? We're just going to sample all these old keyboards. And we're going to sample them and make them instruments on a computer that will control off stage using controller keyboards. That's it. And it turned out being a much more consistent way to do things, rather than bringing these artifacts. They're still fun in the studio, but not necessarily consistent for beers poured on your face.
Yeah.
Remember when we had that scuttle?
Oh, yeah.
We called it a scuttle because it was a skull-shaped funnel where it was like the head of a skull cut off and
the spine.
the beer went down the spine.
Yeah.
That became a problem. We brought that on tour.
Just scuttle straight into the power supply.
Yeah, sparks, shocking. But the problem with like a lot of these controllers is they're kind of really like plastic. It's this weird different thing that happened since guitars. I don't know when guitars started, but I think about like an old Telecaster, like a 60s Telecaster or something like that. And people tend to have them for 50 years. You take pride in that you had this guitar since you were a kid.
Or they end up at the Met and people admire them and pay money to see them.
And I don't know where this computer-based music gear landed, where everything feels like it's new until the next version comes out. And then you throw it away and you buy the new one. Because that wasn't how guitars were. It wasn't like a new guitar came out, so you threw away your old guitar. It was like it held on. And we were trying to think, what is the difference? Because we looked everywhere for just a cool, I'm going to use the word sexy, controller to have on stage. And we couldn't find one. So we ended up custom making one. And I think something about what also happens in the controller world is they just start adding more and more knobs. That's the way to be newer. More knobs, more turning things and this and that. On stage, I don't use any of those things. On stage, I just use the key bed.
Yeah.
And so we're like, why do we have all this stuff? It would be like having a guitar and then putting a wah-wah pedal, just bolting it on there, putting a chorus pedal, just screw that on, putting like every effect pedal you could, just strapping it onto your guitar. It's like, no, it's cool because they're simple, right? They have a volume knob, they have a tone knob, and that's basically it, a jack to come out. And something about that and being constructed out of like wood and metal and stuff makes them not feel like they go outdated because they are not something newer coming in that has the whatever. So we're like, maybe we could make a keyboard like that. For some reason, it doesn't exist, a controller keyboard. You'll see something that looks like this in the synthesizer category. There's companies that make newer synths that have this vibe, but I think these days, so many musicians use controllers, not just on stage, but at home. Like, when I grew up, it was playing guitar and bass and drums in a garage.
Yeah.
Now I think more or less kids starting out, they go to the closest thing they have to them to make music, which is their computer. And usually the first piece of gear you might buy would be a keyboard, a MIDI controller to control whatever you use, GarageBand, Ableton, Logic, Pro Tools. And there was just nothing that your first instrument, you probably aren't going to keep forever. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if you got this cool, bold, tough-ass controller that can take a beer, it can take the sun, it can take, and just...
I want to talk more about the road-tested nature of it, because just thinking about the way the sun moves and the phrase throwing a synth out of tune is, I'm not a keyboard player at all, but a synth out of tune doesn't seem like a sentence anyone should say. It doesn't seem like a thing that happens, but clearly that that's a thing that happens, and as it is in relation to the sun, which is ultra specific, and you guys, so this has been road tested by you guys, and there's a couple other bands that have taken it out and poured beers on them and had them in the sun and had them in the shade. And
do you think 5 Seconds of Summer is pouring beers on their keyboard?
I hope
I'm not
so.
sure. That'd be
how
cool.
we
Yeah.
want it.
No, and it's not even just like the sun. We would play these sweaty rooms. I feel like I can think back in the day to playing like in Philadelphia and like the sweatiest room in my life, and just body heat would put a synthesizer
Or
out of
you
tune.
sweating into
Just
it.
dripping into it. And I remember complaining that was like, I thought when I stopped playing guitar, I'd stop having to worry about things staying in tune. But it wasn't the case. So, yeah, we ended up making our first version of this about 3 years ago. And then people kept asking where we got it from.
The amount of people that would surround Matt, like say, we're doing a show and like crew people, other bands, just like, what's this? What brand is that? Where'd you get it? Like, and we'd be like, we made it. And I was like, there's a market here.
So about 2 years ago, with our stage tech, Andrew, who's like one of the smartest guys I know, who helped us through a lot of figuring out how to do a lot of our stage stuff. We were like, maybe we should think about making these so other people can enjoy them too. And so that was 2 years ago. And we had our first prototype within like the first 3 months. And it's so simple, I thought we were done with it. And then a year and a half later, we're still working. And we finally just finished it like a week ago, something
but
like that.
I think though that time was spent us bringing it on the road, like us having fuck ups at shows, being like, why did that happen? And we put it through everything. We put it through shipping it. We put it through playing. What was the Minneapolis show? What was the temperature we played?
It was 9 degrees.
9 degrees
We played outside
This thing.
in February.
But then also like, all the summer festivals when it's 100 degrees. Like, I think just us bringing this on the road tested everything. even beers poured into it.
Put it on flights. If it can make it through the TSA, then there's some quality
I
build.
forget if I told you this the last time, but I put a sticker that says USA kicks ass on all of my Pelican cases, and the TSA has stopped fucking with me ever since.
What?
Yeah, man. And these are
Life
cases.
hack.
Yeah, dude, these are cases that I should get fucked with because there's wires and batteries and all sorts of things. But the USA kicks ass.
Yeah.
Go on through. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Don't all y'all do that because I'm going to do it, and I don't want them figuring this out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but here's again the road tested thing that's important, and you want something sturdy, and you want something that feels great. Like this is my favorite feeling key bed I've played on a keyboard, and the knobs we built these custom out of aluminum and whatever. It feels great, but here's the thing: is still. I think the way something looks is really important. I know this because of how uncomfortable our couch is. And I say that because if you ever bought a couch, you'll realize that the best looking couches are the least comfortable, and like the most comfortable couches are the worst
awful looking.
And Kim will sacrifice comfort for the way something looks. Right? If the couch looks great, she wants to sit on it. If the couch looks like shit, she doesn't want to sit on it. So
let me tell you, our couch looks great.
Yeah. But I'm saying the way it looks makes her want to sit on it. And I say the same thing with like cars. People are obsessed with how cars look, right? And the thing is, how a car looks has nothing to do with how it drives. And driving is what you do. And you don't stand outside of it and look at it when you drive it, but it like makes you want to drive it if it looks great. So my same thing with any sort of musical gear, and I'm a total slut for musical gear and great looking musical gear, is that if it looks great to you, you're gonna want to play it. And that's important because if it looks great to you and you want to play it because it looks great, then you're gonna make more music. So like, I think we can't forget how inspiration works in that way. I think maybe we talked off camera a little about photography.
Yeah, I was talking about there's this Olympus. It's like a $400 item. That's my wife's absolute favorite camera. And we've got access to nicer cameras, much more expensive cameras. But this Olympus, this $400 thing, it looks wonderful. There's like a leatherness to the body of it, and it feels wonderful. And that's the one that ends up at every single show. And good photos get taken with it. It's not the megapixel count. It doesn't have all the stats that the nicer cameras would, but the fact that that was the one that she reached for means that that's the one that's getting used, and really nice work and really nice pastime and enjoyable photography ends up happening because of it.
And because if you show up and you want that as part of, feeling it feels good to you, looking at it, having it on you, you're okay with how you look as opposed to, I remember having a heavily branded camera strap for like a Canon I had. And I just didn't want to be walking that around. Even us, we thought so much about the branding. So many keyboards would put their name Roland. I'm not going to call out any keyboard companies.
Not anymore anyway.
No, but I'm just saying, and I'm users of both those brands, but we're like, let's do something more subtle, and because I don't necessarily want to be advertising that. I remember we had this drum mic for Kim. It's like, you'll see the Roots use it on Jimmy Fallon. It looks like another drum in front of their kick drum. It's a big mic, and it said sub kick. And when we were like an unknown band, someone's like, so is your band's name Sub Kick? And I was like, your band name should be the biggest thing on the stage.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, so we know about this guy. We know about its sturdiness. We know about how beautiful it is. The internet can see it. They can definitely see the beauty from that camera right there. Can we hear it? We were all hooked up, and can we hear a bit of what this guy does? I don't believe they can see the controller bit of it. They can...
Well, I just brought our stage session where we sampled everything too. And again, this probably won't actually tell you anything about the keyboard because you're hearing sounds from that we've sampled. It's controlling them. But I thought it's still fun to listen to a couple of things,
Matt
right?
and Kim fans are the people who are tuned into this right now, so it's going to be fun to hear Matt and Kim sounds.
So, here, maybe
I got you. Look at this.
Be my mic stand, Kim. I feel like you're my Vanna White right now. Yeah. So this would be a known sound to any Matt and Kim fan. So this is a sampled piano that we've used throughout years, but specifically on a song that sounds like this. This is my first time ever playing this riff. But the funny thing is, this is actually the sound of the album. It was the same samples that I use, and then we're able to bring that directly to stage by using a controller rather than a more generic keyboard sound. I love this piano because it's actually kind of out of tune. It's an old tacked piano, but I've used it on many things afterwards. Sometimes when I'll work on a piece of music, I'll be like, does this piece deserve the daylight sound?
And that out of tuneness, this is, forgive my ignorance here, but the out of tuneness of that piano, the sampled out of tuneness translates to this guy playing back the out of tune. It doesn't need to be in context of it being played, the actual piano being played.
No, because, I'm a terrible piano player. You just heard me try to play that. But the way the piano itself is, there's a few strings that each hammer hits, I think. I don't know, maybe. We'll say there is.
We had a baby grand in here yesterday.
Really?
Yesterday, man.
In here?
Yeah. Yes, dude.
Oh, my God.
The
How'd you
5'2"
move it? You just muscled it?
Yeah, I yelled at it till it got scared and left.
Okay, cool. Yelling at baby grands.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, the piano itself, some of the keys were out of tune, but I always love things that sound kind of funky and sound kind of weird and not perfect. And so again, I just sampled, oops, I changed the patch, but I sampled each key, and then now when I played it back, it was that same vibe, as opposed to this vibe. Kim, will you do some magic for us?
Just like,
We played a Final Countdown cover on stage after we saw Arrested Development for a number of years. We only pictured Job doing magic the whole time. Maybe we can find a video of it to splice in if this goes archived, because Kim would play the drums so fast to it. It was
loved
a beautiful thing. But here's the other thing you can do when you're using a sampled instrument rather than just a single keyboard. Like for this song is a song called Get It, that it has a lot of different sounds in it, and I'm able to split it across lots. And this is any MIDI controller, but just for people who are not used to playing MIDI controllers. So the main hook of the song, no. Oh wait, I know what I got to do here. Hold on. Well, oh wait, that's the wrong one. So here's the thing about this this session. It has about 1,000 instruments in it that I've made.
I wonder, does that happen from time to time during the songwriting process where you dial in the patch that you thought it was, all of a sudden a completely different thing comes out, and then it switches your perception of the song, and you say, wait a minute, maybe that is it, and then it goes in a different direction?
Well,
just through a happy mistake like that?
Kind of it has. I can think about this song called Cameras that we have. And if you listen to the very first sound on it, it sounds kind of like a cat in heat. It's a very weird sound that I've never heard on a song, and it was an accidental patch change that was like, let me not try to upload it. But what I was trying to show before, so that's this. That's the main bit, but here, I'll give you.
Yep.
So, but we have the opening, which is this sound. And then we have a left hand that plays this other vocal sound. So I have to use these all together in the same time, like. And then it goes back to the. But I'm only using like 1 octave per sound, but I can split it even further into single keys and whatever. It makes it just more diverse.
But yeah, it makes it so much more diverse that we can play the songs on stage how it sounds on the album.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, well, we only have this one keyboard, like, what can we do with it? No.
Nice. So this guy was finishing touches put on this week, you said, or last week, like just now. Is it so Extra Deluxe Manufacturing is where people can go find it right now? Is that true?
Extra Deluxe MFG.com. And we're actually our first small batch we sold, but we're putting up another set in January. So is it in pre-order?
reserved one right now.
It'll go out, we believe, in January, right?
Mid-January. Yeah.
Nice.
But it's been really fun to do a new thing, right? Don't you agree?
Yeah.
And I'll throw some of this to Kim, because Kim likes to say she hits shit with sticks. Like, that's what she does. I'm not
a drummer. I just hit shit with
but
sticks.
as far as you're not as involved with the technical side of things, but she's always been a visual artist. We were both visual artists of sorts before we started this band, and like she's had so much input on the way things look, on the packaging of things. Like, look at this, this box will be reminiscent of anyone who has a Matt and Kim album cover, but like, and the way, even just the unboxing experience, like so many things Kim was able to contribute from just her visual artist side, and a muscle we haven't gotten to flex as much.
No,
I mean,
it's
we
like
use it.
before it'd be like, oh, make art, and then the band kind of took over, and then it was like make art when an album's due. Like, and now I feel we have more input, or just even the website. It's like all the different parts of our lives are now coming into one with this.
Do you feel like now that itch has so recently been scratched that you're going to, in the near future, going to be inspired to start making a lot more shit and not just on album cycles? I mean, are you looking at like treehouse manufacturing or like
How did you know?
I've
those
watched
bikes with the giant front wheel and the little back wheel, just stuff like physical items?
I love, those are the most two random things. I love it. But also I have watched many episodes of Treehouse Masters, so it might happen. And penny farthing bicycles or whatever they're called.
Much more elegant way to say the thing that I just said.
But it was a nice visual. Yeah, I mean, we even have other things in the pipeline to do with this same mindset of design and where it fits in today's electronic music, creator. But also, I always said Matt and Kim are whatever the hell Matt and Kim want to do. And I think at this point, 6 albums in, we're excited to just try new stuff. I mean, we'll always make music because it's our deepest true love, but why not just try different shit?
Yeah, it's good to be the king, good to be the queen. Why not? It's your name on the thing. Do whatever you want. Well, dude, this is awesome. Thank you for coming by. Anytime it makes sense for you guys to come by, whether we're talking about controllers, whether you're playing music, whether we're talking about tree houses, whatever happens next, we really, really appreciate you guys coming in and doing this. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Yes, Extra Deluxe MFG is where these keyboards are in pre-order. Another batch is on the way in January. And thank you guys so much for coming through and doing this. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.